it's so easy to laugh at myself. And, so much of what we do is completely absurd. So I think that was the challenge, was not to laugh at it too much, but also not to the silliness.
What would make a 36-year-old woman have an affair with a 7th grader?
Ms. Moore, one of my takeaways from this film is that an actor probably is never going to get to fully understand their subject. That, try as they might, there's going to be a layer or two that they're never going to fully understand. And as close as Elizabeth thought she got, she really probably didn't get that close at all.
I think it's hard to trust that you're going to represent Gracie as she was.
I'm going to try.
Oh my gosh, yes. I think where you really know that is when you're trying to portray a real person. So, you're never going to, only that person is uniquely them. And so what you're going to do when you're trying to copy someone's mannerisms or their speech or anything is you're going to be a proximate version of them. You're a facsimile of them, and you have to know that. You have to know that this is an act of imagination too, and of trying to reach another person. And also because I don't know that we can ever fully know anyone as much as we'd like to. I mean, I think that there are times when I've been with my husband for 28 years, and sometimes I look at him, I'm like, who are you? I don't think we know. We want to know. I think that's the mystery of being alive, and that's what being a human is all about, is that we're always trying to figure out who we are and who everybody else is. And maybe the act of being an actor is informed by that, always trying to get to know what it is to be another person.
Now, this is silly. This is actually very serious business. If you say so.
Having the opportunity to play Joe, I felt with Sammy's script, there's such this vast arena to explore who this man was. There are so many layers and complexities that were exciting for me to dive into. And, whether it was personal or certain experiences of someone else or inspirations from different characters in films or movies. And like one of the prominent things that I really looked at with my own personal experience was this sense of immense responsibility that Joe had at such a young age. And though my personal experience was different than that, the feeling was similar. And my dad was in the Army for 20 plus years, and I grew up an Army brat. But when we were stationed in Germany, I have 2 younger sisters. My dad sat me down when I was 11 and gave me this heroic, inspirational talk about taking care of my sisters and my mother, because he was gonna go away to war for a year. And listening to your hero ask you to kind of step up to the plate and put on these shoes that may be a little too big, you can't but help but want to take that sense of responsibility. And I wouldn't change anything. And thinking about that, my own personal experience of what I could bring into Joe, I looked at Joe's experience and I found just empathy in his story and just imagining what he had to live through.
Sure.
And then going through this whole film, seeing him kind of come into his own awakening was the best experience of my career, and with Todd just the whole way through with me. I mean,
if we're really as in love as we say we are, shouldn't I be able to talk about this with you?
If we're really as in love as we say we are.
Which awards do we assume that Elizabeth eventually went on to win for playing Gracie?
A daytime Emmy, maybe?
No. People's Choice.
People's Choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
I knew that we had crossed a line, and I felt in my heart that we would cross it again.
My favorite thing was that originally the TV show that she was on was called Animal Hospital. And then the night before we shot the scene where Julianne's character, Gracie's daughter, says, "Oh, I love Animal Hospital," the name didn't get cleared.
Yeah.
And they had to come up with a new name. And there was a brainstorming session for like 24 hours. And then they came up with Nora's Ark.
Yeah.
That was really
Which
good.
was so good, so much better than the original.
Yeah.
Still makes me happy. Nora's Ark.
After playing Gracie?
Yes.
Although, I don't know, maybe, I'm sure she was looking for an Independent Spirit nomination. Hard to know where that movie was going to end up. I bet she has a lot of Grammys on her shelf, though.
You think so?
For Nora's Ark, her very popular television show. I mean, not Grammys, Emmys.
Your director said you probably have a shelf full of Emmys for Noah's Ark, by the way.
Yes. I think so too.
There's a moment in the film that made me laugh so hard is when they compliment Noah's Ark and you go, oh, thank you. That means the world. And you could tell that she had said that like 1,000 times. So when you're playing an actor, in a movie, do you have some mannerisms of your own that you just include that are required day to day?
Of course. And I mean, it was the hardest thing not to make fun of it because, of course, it's so easy to laugh at myself. And so much of what we do is completely absurd. So I think that was the challenge, was not to laugh at it too much, but also to find those moments where we could, not to the silliness.
You're crazy.
I think that the movie illustrates why AI, while definitely dangerous to the industry, won't ever truly challenge an actor because AI cannot do what Elizabeth did. It can't burrow under the skin of another person. And I was just wondering if that crossed your mind at all, Natalie, when you were putting the piece together.
That's so interesting. I did not think of that, but that's a really amazing point. And yeah, I think that AI is, very powerful, but hopefully we can still have some things that it can't do.
I wasn't thinking about AI. We had so much to do in such a short amount of time. But I think what you're getting at is something that we were very much attuned to. And that is this sort of search for truth that can't be programmed in a computer. And in a way, the human desire for truth and the human desire to speak honestly about who you are and how you feel is never perfect, is always partial vision, is always subject to all kinds of repressions and denials and countervailing things that we do to survive our lives. There's no way a computer technology can replicate how messy and complicated human beings are.
Right.
And creativity comes out of that mess. It's not something orderly. It doesn't have a goal attached to it. It's a process.
Right.
And that's what this film is really exploring.
I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Every year I go down to the Savannah Film Festival. I know you guys shot down there and actually interacted with SCAD students.
Why would you want to play someone who you think is a bad person?
It's the complexity, the moral gray areas that are interesting, right?
Well, D.W. Moffat is the head of the acting program at SCAD, and he's an old friend of mine, and we were on a soap opera together like years and years ago.
Wow.
And we actually kind of met earlier. I did another movie in Savannah earlier, and I came and I spoke to the students, much as Natalie does in the film, and kind of reconnected with D.W. and so delighted when he played this part, and he was very active in involving these students in this production. It was wonderful that's where you learn. You learn how when you work actually. And I think one of the things that I love best about being an actor and being in the film business is that it's one of the very few businesses where it's intergenerational. Your peers might be people who are much older than you and also much younger. And when you're working on film set, you're expected to bring it.
It was such an additional part of the depth of our experience in Savannah. And remarkably, D.W. Moffat, who is in our movie, runs the film department at SCAD. They hadn't ever had a program that would give credit to students working on films that shoot in Savannah, which there are so many, until we tried to figure it out. And so kids could act and be extras in our movie, and they could be on the crew in our movie. And so they filled in. They were such a living, breathing part of our experience making May December. And the experience for them was invaluable, and for us was essential in how to get it done and to feel really deeply connected to that place.
I'm a little naive. I am naive. I always have been.